Kia ora, welcome along to this week's edition of the League and Order Show. Joined by, of course, the usuals, the crew, introducing Blake Ayshford first. Aysh, are you well?
I'm well, mate. Had a bit of trim of the beard. Tried to
good.
resemble my favourite rugby league player,
The
Tony
bowl cat's
Kemp.
gone too, mate. The bowl cat's gone.
Yeah, well, I tried to resemble Tony Kemp, but I'll get there soon. I'm just going to get the lines.
You know, chance.
You've got to get the line. Tony Kemp, of course, welcome along. Did you enjoy the week's rugby league? Was there enough league?
It's been an interesting week for me. Lots going on right across the Mutu and obviously over in Australia. So, mate, can you go to Eden Park and tell them to turn the heaters on here? I know the sun's out. It's freezing in here, man.
We are, of course, at Eden Park, in our Eden Park studios, but not Lavina. Lavina, staying strong down in the Mount.
Kaori makariri I te tauaronga moana, mate. It's not cold here at all. I whiti te rā, the sun is shining like it does every single day. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous in Tauranga.
Can I just say, the sun is shining here too. It just doesn't shine on this box and we get cold. Team, wow, what a round of NRL matches. And I can't go past the fact that we were robbed once again as a Warriors nation. And I'm so happy that came out last night that in fact we were robbed. Jazz Tevaga should not have been sent off for what seemed like a punch, a grab of the jersey and then a push-up. It almost justifies the feeling. And I was having a great Father's Day. Everything was going well. I sat down. Kids gave me the beer. I sat there and I started watching the Warriors play. And everything was, it was going to be a tough game against Parramatta. We knew we'd be hanging in it. And then when we got Jazz Tevaga sent off, I hit the roof and the family slowly cleared out of the lounge and my Father's Day was ruined completely on one call. But I won't just talk for all of us because I know we all absorb that differently. And we'll start with you, Lavina. Warriors match against your Eels. Did you love it?
It was an interesting game for me. It was kind of if you wanted to describe it as a bittersweet victory. When I watched it live, the first thing that went through my head is that's nothing. And then I watched the replay and I said, that's nothing. And then he got sent off for 10 minutes and I went, that's something. So I didn't think the send-off should have occurred. Rugby league's a really strange thing, though. I have no doubt that Brown and the Eels would have gone in and said, let's attack a hothead from the Warriors. Let's try and niggle, because that's what Brown does. He niggles people. He'll do the same thing when he comes up against the Panthers on Friday night. But they went, let's attack someone that'll do something back, and not necessarily let's get Jazz Tevaga sent off, so he shouldn't have been. But let's attack someone that's a bit spicy and that will react. And Jazz is renowned for it. It's not the first time that it's happened. And I know once he was off that the Eels were managed to score a couple of tries and it went to 16-0. And lots of Warriors fans will be saying we could have won the game if he didn't get sent off. But you just don't know. Sometimes when a player is removed from the game for 10 minutes, there's an attitude change from the team, and the Warriors certainly managed to fight back. What I don't like about it is for the fans that turned up, there were 5,000 of them, for the Parramatta fans at home that feel as though they can't really celebrate a victory, and for the Warriors fans at home that feel ripped off, it was such a wrong decision in the game. And there should be a policy in place that says you don't remove a player from a game for a 10-minute facet no matter what, unless maybe they bite someone. But regardless of that, it wasn't fair on the Warriors, it wasn't fair on the Eels, it wasn't fair on anyone, and it really destroyed the game. I don't know if the Warriors would have won if Jazz stayed out there. I have no idea. And I don't know if Jazz will do that again and nothing will ever happen, but it destroyed the game for me. And I feel sorry for the Warriors fans, but I can't guarantee they would have won the game, because in the second half when they had all their players, I thought their attack had some flaws.
Aish,
yeah.
Tell me what it's like when you're playing for the Warriors and you know everything's against you, including the referee. No, don't. No, what was your take on it?
I agree with Lavina. You don't know how it's going to go. Even though the Warriors 13-13, they outscored Para, but you don't know at that time of the game, Para were sort of on top. What I hate is that the NRL come out after and put their referees out there to dry and just go, look, we got it wrong. And not only that, but what did the Warriors take from it? Oh, look, we could have got 2 points. Like, it does nothing.
It does great things for the fan base because it sits there and goes, I told you, no one wants us to win the NRL.
But the thing that I hated the most about it was it robbed us of that next 10 minutes of watching Tevaga versus Brown.
Yeah.
So you think back to when footy was great and we had Mark Carroll and Paul Harrigan running at each other. Every run at each other, like stuff like that. And that's what we don't have anymore, and that's
They
why
got no Hollywood Harrigans, mate, out there in the middle. That's why.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like they would have been like Jazz, gives it as much as he gets it, and he came back on, ran straight at Nathan Brown. I wanted to see a bit of that stuff, but that's what I took out of it. It robbed us of 10 minutes of actually seeing that niggly side of footy.
Yeah.
Maybe even head high or two. Maybe some actual punches might have been thrown. Would have been nice.
Handbags to the fore. I thought the 10 minutes when Jazz came back on afterwards was fantastic. Harris Tevaga there with those 2 tries. One of them's definitely try of the year or contender for try of the year. And look, stop blaming the referees, will you? That's like the NRL, they sit in there on a Monday morning and go, get Graham Annesley out here and tell them they got that one against the Warriors wrong because we're going to get another 50,000 Kiwis watching it and pump our media rights up. And if you look at the core root of the problem, Marc Peard, what is the core root of the issue here?
That we lost and they scored 10 points in the time that he was wrongly sent off.
No, that's the boil. You just lanced the boil. You just lanced it.
We're not in the 8 because of it.
What is the core issue?
Bunker?
No, it's Jez Tevaga, mate. All right? If Jez Tevaga doesn't throw the punch, he doesn't get penalised with the ball. Okay? That's the problem here because they were on a scoring position and end up in the sin bin for 10 minutes.
He didn't throw a punch, that's the first thing. He was holding his jersey and tried to lift him off, and it turned into... It's a cheeky punch.
Trying to lift him off with a cheeky punch.
Well, it was like a get off me, and he had the hold of the jersey, and he pushed his head up.
So the core root of the problem is
the fiery passion of a Warriors player who's trying to get up quickly.
When you've got the ball in your hand so you don't give the penalty away, and put pressure on a referee to send you to the sin bin for 10 minutes. If Jez just gets up and plays the football, he's on the field for that 10 minutes. So what I'm saying is you can't stop blaming the referee. The referees are getting put into these positions. Yes, it was the wrong call, all right? But go back to the core root of the problem. Jez needs to temper his attitude on the football field so he doesn't get the penalty.
He is a spiritual leader of the club.
We're going to have more of these problems.
We need fireworks. We don't need people dully walking around going...
Let's dive into this a little bit. What do you think the referees do? Do you think that they show up on a Sunday and just blow the whistle?
No, I think that they're very well trained. I think that they are taking...
They analyse the game.
Analyse it.
They watch players.
They've
they
got
know
a moment.
that Brown and Tevaga are going to put some shit on each other, and they go out there knowing that it's going to happen, and then they come up with it, and Jez got done on this occasion.
And they do, the refs do have that, like they have their little handbook, and they watch the video from the week before. Okay, this guy's offside all the time. This guy's this.
Yep.
And what I'm saying here, Mark, is that I thought when Jez came back on that there were 2 or 3 times that he should have got a penalty. And he was watching me standing up and going, mate, they were on me for too long. How come we didn't get a set restart? Or how come we didn't get a penalty? The referee's going, because you're pissing me off. You're pissing all my mates off when we're refereeing you.
But that shouldn't be something that happens.
I know it shouldn't be something. But it is. Okay, so get over it.
I think that he can't. He can't. Hey, I'm with you. He can't put it away because if we go back to when the Warriors started coming good this year, Jazz has come on and we needed an enforcer, like someone to stand up to people. Yeah. We were getting pushed over. And it's just even as simple as like a niggle, like Hargraves put it on one of our boys. Jazz comes running in.
I have no problem with that, Blake. I have no problem with that. I love the biff. I grew up in that era. But the thing with it is he got blindsided. He got blindsided by Brownie, who got away with it.
Yeah.
Do you know why you're choking? That's the Lord telling you to piss off when you told me to get over it. It's like, I will take you now, Tony. Yeah, look.
Backing on your word.
Yeah, the thing was, agree with you, Aish. What we need is definitely that fire in the belly that Jazz provides. And I love it. And I wanted to see Nathan Brown and him just swing the cameras outside the stadium in the car park, 1 out after the game. Like, just go at it and then go, right, great game, great stuff. Chad Townsend. Now that is something that you can get sent off for. What he did is something that's definitely sent off for, and something where it should be a suspension. Not what Jazz did. Not what Jazz did. One was a red card and one was a yellow. But
he had a brain explosion.
Yeah.
Like when Kalyn brought that ball out and he went to tap it quickly and the referee blew the whistle, Kalyn actually stopped and saw him coming and dived back. He made it look worse than what it was. But Chad had committed himself.
Can I just say that was awesome?
And he actually just jumped. He couldn't know where to go. He had nowhere else to go. I thought that wasn't a send-off. I thought it was just a reaction.
Oh my God!
Mate, a halfback doing that. Do you remember what's his name? Sandow. The little halfback for Chrissy Sandow. Do you remember him doing that on Greg Inglis?
Yeah, but it used to be allowed back then.
Yeah, but do you remember him doing it on Greg Inglis?
No.
Mate, who come off with...
And everyone
it's a halfback,
cheered and celebrated it. I remember the tackle. I remember it.
If you're gonna, I love the shoulder charge, man. Bring it back. Bring it back. It was a big part of our game. We used to love it.
So not to dwell on what happened with the Warriors game.
No, you are.
No, I'm going to move forward with it. That's why I brought on the Chad Townsend thing, because our next opponent are the Sharks, and they're going to be missing a couple of their really good players, in fact. And Townsend got, 3 weeks? Possibly could have had 5 weeks. Pleaded guilty, got the 3 weeks, which means we don't have to play him this week. Does that severely dent the Sharks in the 8? Like the fact that they won't have Townsend, is he that important to the team? Can we beat them this week, and will they keep losing so that we can find our way in?
Oh, I think we're playing good enough to beat any team on any given week at the moment. I think the way that the Warriors are finishing off the season is refreshing, isn't it? It's refreshing knowing... I've had a couple of mates say to me, what do you think about the Warriors? And I simply say to them, mate, they're going to hang in there for the whole game. It's just the way they're playing, you know? So I think they're a chance for the next 3 weeks. Look, who knows? I'm not worried about the top 8. For me, it's a top 4. You know, if you don't make the top 4, history tells you don't win the competition.
Yeah, but we're not winning the competition this year. We can say that.
Cronulla Teflon, 1 week they're in, 1 week they're out. They can't hold on to form for too long. Whether they play, they've got some depth. Whether they've got players that come in and can do a job against the Warriors, I hope the Warriors smack them. Yeah,
I'm with you. I think the Warriors can win. And the big pitch, everyone's saying, the top 8's set. Mate, the Sharks, if the Warriors win this week, the Sharks have to play the Roosters and the Raiders. They're not winning those 2 games.
And win.
They're not winning those 2 games at all. So this opens the door for the Warriors and the Tigers, because they're both on the same...
He's hanging
both
on
the same points. Here we
go. Who did you play for?
Me. Both sides. So they're coming.
And Cronulla.
Don't worry about Sharks. They're gone. But no, it does open the door. This is a massive, massive game. We need this game. If we're any chance, this is the game you need.
It's a must-win game.
Is Sean Johnson going to play this weekend? Is Sean Johnson back for the Sharks?
I think so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I really was proud of Harris Tavita's performance against the Eels. I didn't expect the Warriors to be in the game, actually, to be brutally honest. And especially when even Jazz came back, I didn't think they had, what it would take to defeat the Eels in the second half. But they've proven that even if they lose their way for a short period in the game, they can still fight back and create headaches. And there's a sense of faith within themselves at the moment. Whether or not it's because they've been, hooked up together overseas, or they're just at that stage where they just want to play good footy, or they're chancing their arm. And that's what I liked about Harris Tavita, is that he was really confident in every one of his plays. He was the orchestrator and taking control. And the try of the year that you're talking about went through, 9 sets of hands and a couple of kicks. And there's just so much faith in the Warriors at the moment that they've almost gone, well, we're in a competition, we're away from our whānau, and we're not expected to do any good. And Phil Gould, dickhead, said that we would only win 4 games.
I'll tell him that tonight when I talk to him.
We're at this stage, we've proven everyone wrong, and there's no expectation level. Like your mates are saying to you, Kempy, how are the Warriors going? What do you think? And you're like, I'm actually liking it since coming close to the Roosters 6 weeks ago.
I'm not liking it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, there's no expectation.
Let's just hope they can just carry this on.
They can put in their best performance and beat the Sharkies. They really can.
Yeah, look, I think you got to put it in the context. Kane Evans puts their ball down under the post, and Ferguson puts their ball down on the sideline. It's 24-0. It's over. You know what I mean? So the way that they fought their way back into the game and chanced their arm with those 9 offloads, just that in itself shows a lot of confidence. They're 16-0 down. Shit, we got nothing to lose on the last tackle. Let's have a crack. And that reminded me so much of the early 2000s with the sides that we had. They just never threw the towel in. So I really like what I've seen. Lavina Peard, I hate to blow your bubble on the Jez Tevaga thing, but I got pulled aside.
What do you call him, Jez?
Jazz.
Jazz.
What do you call him? I don't know.
Jazz.
But anyway, Jazz. Yeah. Jez Smith, I'm talking to. Yeah, I'm a bit dyslexic. But anyway, what I was saying, I got called into, by the coach in 91, I got called into the room and he said, Kempy, I just want to talk to you about the referees. And I was going, yeah, no worries. And I think, what are you talking to me about referees? I hate them. And basically what he said, they hate you too.
Oh,
they hate you too. And you know what? We're not going to get the penalties because of the way that you play. So can you sort yourself out, because we need those penalties. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, if he's any good, Todd Payton, he'll pull Jez aside and say, "You got done by Brownie on that one, mate. You shouldn't have lashed out. You cost us 10 points."
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I just feel this is my last thing from a fan's point of view. I'm not analysing this game in any other way other than the NRL has made me stupid nervous every time we score a try that they're going to try and find a way. Like, it is an absolute God-given miracle, the fact that they let the try of the year stand, because damn, they were looking closely at trying to pull it. Every chance, every little opportunity that the Warriors might have infringed or done something wrong, as a fan of the Warriors, it genuinely feels like they are trying everything to stop us from winning a title.
How was Father's Day, mate?
It was. I had a great Father's Day. It had nothing to do. Like, I was having a really good day until that happened. But I don't want to sit there supporting my team and think that the NRL is against us every single moment, because that's what it feels like. Even the bunkers looking at every single thing.
Who got try of the year last year?
I don't know.
Warriors.
Well, it's interesting, Mark. It's interesting. Last year was the same thing. Yeah, do you remember last year, the Eels playing the Warriors last year? There was the two, remember the steel thing, and Harris Tavita got in trouble for that, and the Warriors should have won that game.
Yep,
it was exactly the same. And the week after that game last year, I think they sacked four of the referees on the end of that.
It only happens to us.
Mark. Might have been going on for a while.
It feels like it only happens to us. Lavina's somehow managed to get a delay on Skype, so hopefully it'll catch up. But the thing is, it just feels that way. I don't want to be supporting my team knowing that not only is it playing against an opposition, but it's also playing against the referees. And I'm at this place naturally with hundreds of thousands of other Warriors supporters who watch week in, week out and go, they're not going to allow us to have this. Like, the NRL has got us here. Not anyone. We are typically, as New Zealanders, as a race of people, we don't complain. We tend to be pretty, stoic and don't often complain. But the Warriors fans get a bad rap for complaining, knowing that shit like this has happened. Jazz gets sent off, and then Annesley comes out and says he shouldn't have been sent off. Forward passes that weren't forward passes. Like, we have a proud history of never complaining, but this is actually something worth complaining about as a fan base, because you don't want to feel nervous when the try of the year is scored and they're going, they're going to take this up. Like, Twitter starts lighting up. They're not going to let this happen. They're not going to stand.
Look, subjective in it, send-offs and you're talking about not complaining. Mate, that's a rant if ever I heard one. But your subjective send-offs and sin binnings, probably clearer criteria. Like, there's no blood drawing, there were no teeth knocked out, there wasn't another punch thrown, penalised, G should have been fined. You know, that's something Annesley needs to sort out. You know, Chad Townsend, shoulder charge, gets 3 weeks. Clear criteria. The young boy that came, where was he from? Penrith, I forgot his name, for the Warriors, has gone back. He got sent off, got 5 weeks for knocking out Martin Tapo. Like, sin-binned. You know what I mean? The criteria is wrong. They need really clear criteria for the referees to say, no blood, no punches, sin-bin, knocked out, off, you know what I mean?
The blood rule.
And so have really clear criteria so that the referees don't get put under this pressure. The worst thing about it is that I think it was from the bunker that came down and said, he needs to go to the sin-bin. So, mate, get rid of the bunker. Bunker's a joke.
That's another rant in itself.
That's right. Where do we start with that? Yeah, okay. Moving forward, Kempy, you wanted to talk about the Roosters and their salary cap.
How the hell do they stay under the salary cap? Seriously, I'm looking at that side and I'm trying to do the numbers. I'm trying to do the numbers. I mean, like, I'm going Tedesco $1 million, Tupou 600,000.
Crichton got,
and then I'm going Joseph Manu, best centre in the competition, close to $1 million. Then you're looking at the Morris brothers. You're going, well, even at 300, that's pretty cheap, but still 600,000. You know. Cleary signed $1 million.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Crichton signed $1 million. Sonny Bill Williams driving a Bentley in training, so he probably gets to keep that and sell that when he leaves. Boyd Corden, Aussie captain, close to $1 million. Jared Warrior-Hargraves, well, he's got to be the best prop in the comp at the moment. You know what I mean? I'm going.
Friend, we could go on for days.
Can we sort of think why everyone else is talking about any other team in the competition, why they shouldn't win the comp? Because I reckon there's a salary cap issue with the Sydney City Roosters.
Just going to throw that out there with the amount of talent they have on the roster.
How do they? I don't know, but I know they call it creative accounting, but how are they doing it?
I don't know, unless there's people there that are seriously sacrificing the dollar for the team, but I know
Luke Keary did. He took 900,000
instead of $1 million.
Yeah, Luke Keary.
Well, the Morris boys wouldn't be on much. Maybe they got Joey Manu still on a long-term deal from when he was younger.
He's on incentive. He's getting $50 a game for every win.
Mate, I'm trying to work it out for you, but this is the best team on paper that I've seen in a decade. see no way.
The other team,
I see no way they're getting beat.
I'm the same. We said that at the beginning of the year.
But then they did lose players and things like that. But I can't. Yeah,
mate. If they get the players back in 3 weeks' time, they win. They win everything. They win Monopoly. You know, they win. They got the best beach that they live on. They drive Bentleys. You know what I mean? They got $32 million media mogul Sonny Bill Williams brought to the competition. Mate. I'm sitting there. I woke up and I went, you got rocks in your head if you're a punter and you've backed anyone else other than the Sydney City Roosters.
Tigers Chief Executive Justin Pascoe prepares to grill Russell Packer and Josh Reynolds. I did this especially for you, Aish.
Blake's favourite players.
Over inexplicably missing the club's gutsy comeback over Manly after departing the players' dugout at Brookvale Oval at halftime. Brookvale. Sorry. How do we vision this happening? You got the CEO walking in, and the two players sitting in seats. Aish, yours, please.
We all know Rusty Packer. He's fighting to the death. He won't take anything that they give him. So they hold the cards.
Why?
Because they're trying to get rid of these two players. So they can't. It's not a sackable offence.
Really?
So
not being available for the second half of the rugby league
Well, they're
game?
not playing. They're
Right.
18th and 19th man.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's sort of an unwritten rule you stay, but there's nowhere written down that you have to stay till the end of the game. Like, it's an unwritten rule you sort of stay with your side.
Okay.
But it's good to see Rusty come out and say, I had arthritis issues, it was cold. And then hearing everyone that it wasn't too cold.
I didn't see that. Did he really use that one?
I think it was in the article somewhere. Oh, he's good, mate. But we all know him. He's not backing down from anything. So whatever they come in and try and say to him, I think you just turn around and walk away from me. Josh Reynolds.
Is there a culture issue there? Is this saying that the players don't respect Maguire?
At the moment, I think there's... So from what I've heard, I think there's a bit of uproar about the way that... they're sort of playing for themselves, I think, at the moment, because they're scared of being... When he dropped everyone, at those weeks when players were getting dropped in and out, I think now they're just playing for themselves because they want to stay in the side. They're not trying to play as a team.
So, yes, I would say that's a locker room issue.
I would say so, yes. Yeah.
Because for me, I texted you guys last week around the Benji Marshall thing and said, you know, how would you feel? You know, like you pick the paper up in the morning and find out that you've been there for 16-year club player, 15, 16 years at West Tigers, won a grand final, love the club to the death, and then pick up the paper up and say, oh, well, you're not wanted next year. And the question around Maguire, you know, like there's a leak in the club, but you know, for me, at the end of the day, it sort of comes back on the coach. Like the relationship with the players always comes back to the coach. And, you know, whether you respect that coach and want to play for him. Like Maguire not going to Benji, who deserves that respect anyway, before it goes back to the club and say, hey, Benji, we've met with the board and we've decided not to renew your contract. I'm just letting you know because we've got a leak in the club and it's probably going to get out. Benji needs to hear that. But watching that one on the weekend to say that Rusty and Reynolds walked out of the game when they were 18th and 19th man. Is that right? 18th and 19th man?
I'm guessing so, yeah.
It shows me that he's probably hasn't got all the players on the same waka, you know what I mean? They're not travelling all in the same direction, and although they won on the weekend, I think it smooths over what some of the issues in that club are. Don't you think? Yeah. You've been West Tigers. You must know what that's like.
It does, and that's what when I wrote to you in the chat about. I don't think it's Maguire. I think it's the boardroom and that Justin Pascoe and all that. Like for years, there's always been a leak. You have a team meeting, and somehow you say it's not going anywhere outside this room, and somehow it gets out. So they would have been meeting in the boardroom. Maguire would have been in there most probably, and they had the decision. And I still think that Maguire had intended to tell Benji. I think that it got leaked before, but that's just my opinion. But then to put it all on Maguire, I think it's a bit harsh as well, because you got to look at the players that are in career best form. Luciano Leilua has been outstanding this year. David Nofaluma, we've already raved about. Adam Dewey. So there's players that are...
How good was he on the weekend?
Exactly. There's players benefiting from Maguire's coaching, and then there's also players that have been told they're not wanted next year that might be bringing the team down. And we had the same problem with the Warriors. We thought that the boys that wanted to come home could have been putting a sour taste in the boys' mouth. Once they've left, all of a sudden the Warriors boys are starting to play good footy. So I think there's a lot of issues going on, but I wouldn't pinpoint one as the problem.
It's good analysis, Aish. I like
Thanks,
the
Mark.
way that you've really knuckled down on it.
He's still, mate, he's still sulking. Can you tell that? Can you tell the pit he's still sulking about that one
It's
jazz
not one.
punch
It
in the
just
face?
keeps on getting. There's just more and more, and they
it go,
keep on
mate.
saying sorry. It's hard. Sorry, Lavina.
No, I was just thinking about Kempy bringing up that issue about the Roosters and over the salary cap. The Roosters are the sort of club, whether or not it comes through management or the board or coaches. And, I mean, you love to hate them because they've got all the coin and they've become the silver tails of what Manly were in the 80s. But they've got general managers and CEOs that will call a kid that signed up at 17 years of age and say, welcome to our club. So if they treat a kid like that and contact their whānau and family and say, we want you to be a part of the Roosters, we're proud that you picked us. Imagine how they would treat someone like Benji Marshall that has given up so many years for the club. I mean, Sonny Bill could hardly wait to come back and play for the Roosters because they'd signed a deal with a handshake many years before. This is a club whose culture is in the right place, in a much better place than what the Tigers are at the moment. And it's not critiquing Madge. It's not saying he's a bad coach. But culturally, you look at the club like the Roosters and what they're doing for development and promoting their players and heralding the players that have been with them forever compared to the Tigers that are playing week in and week out with a few superstars. They're polar opposites at the moment.
Don't get me started on the Roosters' development.
Oh, what a yes! Let's get over. Yes, you started. Come on, Aish. What?
Just know they don't look after their juniors at all. They'll claim Boyd Cordner and players like that as Joey Manu and all that as juniors, but we know that they've bought them from
Tokoroa, Joey Manu.
Exactly, that's what I'm
Boyd
saying.
Cordner
But
from Wagga.
they're all from different places, but the
Luke
actual
Carey
Roosters
comes from
junior.
across the road.
I'm talking
Actual
about
Roosters-
when they sign
James
them up,
Tedesco
when they
comes
sign
from
them
where?
up.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Lavina. That's a good point. It's just when you put the development thing, that's what got me.
Yeah, you had
They're
a.
17 years of age. When they come on the books at 17, they seem to keep them forever.
There we go.
I think
17.
yeah,
That's
and the fact that Sonny Bill, the storyline on Sonny Bill signing and playing, going back there is really does solidify the point that they're good at that. Man, can't we just learn how to get our CEO on the phone and ring young players and their parents? Can't we just learn that part?
Yeah, easy. Policy. Put it in the policy program.
I'll make the
Easy.
phone call
Just
if
do
it makes everything better. Let's speak of new NRL CEO Andrew Abdu has unveiled 3 plans. This is a 3-phase plan and how the game is going to move forward past this pandemic struck world. All right, so I'm gonna read out the 3-phase plan that he has put out there,
Lay it on me.
and
no,
you guys
don't
can
do
tell
that.
me what on earth he is saying. All right.
Is it called strengthen and adapt?
Well, it's very close to. Let's start with the first phase. We have to stabilize. That's the first phase. Stabilize. That means we're reducing our costs. We're focusing on locking in our revenue. We need to make some changes together with the players and the clubs and the state of league to stabilize the game. That's phase 1. Stabilize. Phase 2 is renovating the game. That's thinking differently, reinvigorating tribalism, thinking about how we can get more people to the stadiums, and thinking about how we might be able to create an even more entertaining product. And then stage 3 is growth. Growth can come from a number of areas, whether it's the international game, whether it's the clubs and the competition structures that the product that obviously then feeds up into the NRL, and of course the experience that we give our NRL fans. So phase 1, what did we say it was? You guys have already forgotten. Stabilize.
Stabilize.
Phase 2,
Reinvigorate.
renovating. Thank you. Renovating. And stage 3 is growth. Now, I read that and went, fuck, what did I just read? I didn't. There was no kind of, I guess there was no nuts and bolts as to how they were going to utilise each one of these phases. Kempy, you have swung at the NZRL.
Yeah.
And about certain
I haven't swung on, but basically what I've done is I've just reworded a conversation so that that's on everyone's lips. When I hear that, I hear heart attack. Okay, I hear that Abdu's come in and he's got the NRL and they've just had a heart attack. So he wants to go in there and he wants to stabilise. So let's stabilise the game. They've just had a heart attack. Then I want to renovate. So let's give him a new heart. And then let's grow it. Let's get the person out of bed and let's start to get him walking again. You know what I mean? What he's really got is a cancer. What he needs to do is he needs to go in there and he needs to cut the shit out. So he needs to get rid of player agents. He needs to sort sort the NRL CEOs, the welfare managers out in their development and all the clubs, and he needs to make sure that when he goes into renovate, that they're in a stage for renovation, so they're in a stage for recovery. All right, he's missing the whole point here. Okay, there's players that have been ripped off by player managers. There's player managers that are going into a cornflakes packet to get an accreditation, and they are in charge of the football game. And he hasn't mentioned in one of these things about that. Now, if he wants to be a leader, then take some lead, Mr. Abdu, and control the guys that are controlling the game, which are the player managers and the CEOs at the clubs, and sort the cancers out. Okay, not the heart attack. You ain't even anywhere near a heart attack yet. Let me tell you there, you've got a wonderful product.
So part of the stabilising stage would actually be going through how player agents have their power, how they even get their accreditation, and making sure that you get all the grubs out of the game.
It starts right there. Eh? We've got kids that are playing in Māori tournaments here in New Zealand. You've got Daniel Anderson and the likes coming over from Sydney City Roosters and taking these kids overseas.
Right.
Yep. They haven't got player managers. They're what I call white baiting, and they're putting them into a new environment. Families are uplifting themselves. We've got 500 plus people going over every year. But you don't hear about the bad stories. You only hear about the Joseph Manus. You know, and I just think that, you know, if they are going to sort this out, and I've had lengthy conversations with player managers and some very good ones at it too. They need to put some real strict criteria around them, and it's too late to go back and reset it right at the beginning, because there are some very good ones out there and some very bad ones. What they need to do is they need to, like you said, renovate the player manager model. The good ones. A mate asked me, he said, "What would you do?" And I said, "Well, I'd look at your business and I'd say, what is your business worth? All right, if it's worth if it's a $10 million turnover because you've got Tedesco and Manu and Sonny Bill Williams and stuff, you've set basically a baseline for your business. So that's a $10 million business. Then I would put a bond on your business. All right, so if you wanted to come into rugby league to work within our business, you need to pay a bond. All right. What the bond does is set your criteria and your behaviour. Now, you step out of line, well, you lose the bond, $1 million. All right. And then anyone underneath it that goes and gets their cornflake accreditation has to go and work for you. You guys set the criteria to get them to come into your business. All right. And take all the shit out. Take all the shit out of the game so that our players get looked after. You know, there's one player, I'm not going to mention him, he's been ripped off by his player manager. You know, that story is too common. It's too common. All right, and I said this to Lavina the other week. Like, stop blaming the players. You know, Blake. I asked Blake if he read a contract. You know, Blake's like me. We didn't read all the small print. We just wanted to play footy. That's why you get a play manager, because you're relying on him to tell you what you should be and shouldn't be doing. And if Abdo is talking about a heart attack, mate, you ain't got a heart attack. Get rid of the cancer, mate. You need to cut some of this shit out. That's my rant on that sort of stuff. It's overdue. It's way overdue.
Well, we were overdue another rant from you on player managers. So, I mean, it feels like we've all straight. No, I understand that, but it needs to be policed better, right? That needs to be policed. It actually needs to be cleared out and redone and made sure that all happens.
Mark, get the grubs out of the game.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Get the grubs out of the game. All right, let's move on to, with you, Lavina, anything in particular in those three stages that you thought, hang on, you know what they really need to do in phase one? They need to do this and get that out, like Kempy just did with the player agents?
Yeah, no, I've been Kempy has opened my eyes on the whole player management and the fact that I've been really concerned about development here in New Zealand and losing loads of players over decades, because the scouts come over here and they're allowed to take them over and dangle that, hey, come play for the Roosters, you'll be a superstar. And it's okay when you know who's going to be the superstar, but there's lots of leftover players, and some of them that are left over don't come back to New Zealand because there's nothing enticing here for them to come back to. So that's another stage of that program, I think. It's got nothing to do with stabilising. I probably would not utilise that word at all. The renovating stage needs to be exceptionally strategic to know that in 10 to 15 years' time, the game will grow not just in Australia, but here in New Zealand, and that's imperative. Otherwise, you know, there might come a day when no one will play rugby league here, where they'll all try and play in Australia, and they won't choose like Benji and go, oh, actually, I won't play State of Origin. I'll play for the Kiwis, and they'll be gone. And then the kids will be gone, and then it'll be, you know, horrendous. So let's skip the stabilising. I'm not much for a stabiliser. I'm right into the renovating stage and just clean it out, get it right, and let New Zealand Rugby League prosper like it did many years ago. And I'm afraid that might not be the case unless this is done.
Aish, how did you choose your player agent?
So for me, I didn't really choose my play agent. My uncle was best mates with the play agent at the time, and I sort of just went with him, and he looked after me for many years. And then it wasn't until I changed player management that I got to choose one of my best mates, and he looked after me. So I was sort of lucky in that sense that my manager, who's still doing it now, and then I got to choose my best mate after. So a lot of kids obviously get approached at these carnivals that Kempy was talking about, and
did you just call a tournament a carnival?
Yeah,
well, that's what they call it in Aussie. They call carnivals. Yeah.
A carnival for in New Zealand's usually like there's circuses and stuff, and
well, they are a circus, mate. They just the rides are called player managers.
Yeah.
Jump on board.
So is it fair to assume then from that how you chose? Is it fair to assume that there is some onus on players now to be choosing? Like, never mind worrying about the contracts itself, but there is some real onus on the players now to be choosing the right agents.
No, because for me it was different. I was never making rep teams and things like that. Mm-hmm. So for these kids that make all these rep teams and stuff, they're getting approached at 13, 14. And if you're getting approached at 13, 14, you got an agent and he'll just go, I'm doing James Tedesco.
So
he's under me, and they're like, oh, wait, I could be in the same stable as James Tedesco.
So we're all in agreement. Well, I'm not, but is everyone in agreement to the fact that none of this sits on the players? It's purely on the agents.
Look, at the end of the day, the decision sits with the players because they're the ones that sign the player agreements. And, don't sign 5-year player agreements. That's the worst thing you can do. Again, just to talk on and elaborate a little bit about what Blake's saying, as you go up the rungs, these player managers have the best players, and they use those players to go back into the groups to say, come and jump on board with us.
Look who we've got on the books.
Who we've got. I'm with this guy, and those players will pull other players aside and say, hey man, come and talk to my manager. That's how the player managers are using them. But the other part about these carnivals is they're also buddying up with organisations and sitting inside their camps. I got a phone call a number of years ago when I was running football in New Zealand from a camp that I wasn't attending. I think I might have been with a Kiwi team, and they told me of a player manager sitting inside the camp at dinner, and I said, remove him.
Yeah.
And they said, oh no, he's just come in. He's invited himself to tea, and he's got a couple of players here. I said, yeah, what he wants is he wants all of the best players that we got in the country to go and sign with him. So, mate, I just think you've got to be really careful. I'm just talking about progression. In my day, probably the way that money was, it's relative. But I think in the future, it's going to be massive decisions for families that is going to be really enticing for people that don't have any integrity, which we're already seeing, to say, shit, I can get my hand on some money here.
Yeah. Okay. As we love to do, Kempy, because you do certainly bring up heaps of talking points about them. Why don't we, over this week, well, when I say why don't you come up with the rules that the NRL should be putting in place around player management? And this is knowing what it's like to have a 13-year-old kid that's being scouted and stuff like that.
I'd love to do that.
It only needs to be 10, whatever you feel it needs to be. But these are the rules to the new player agent now that we are renovating the NRL. And so we can all sit there and get an understanding as to what type of shit needs to be pulled into place to get the grubs out of the game.
100%.
Yeah, send us a letter. Send it as a letter.
Yeah.
Send us in a letter.
Dearest, whoever this may be. Speaking of sending us a letter, you sent me the letter. Kalyn Ponga is amazing. ...
I love
Lavina.
him.
Go.
I love him. I'm enjoying watching him. I'm
on the
enjoying
Newcastle
watching him
wagon
progress. I loved interviewing him. He's such a lovely, polite young man to interview. That's for a start. I always thought that about Kalyn. He's got great leadership skills. But just it made me feel like every team in the NRL, if they could have a Kalyn Ponga, and it also made me realise just how many quality fullbacks are in the competition at the moment. And I love the fact that Kalyn's taking control of the game, and he doesn't bludge when he's sore or tired, and he picks his moments like Tedesco when he'll, take on the line or scoot his way through the line. He's not afraid to make a tackle when you need someone to make a tackle. And I just think he's managed to lift that Newcastle side this year and carry that side at times, to be brutally honest. And I really enjoy watching him play. it made me think, I wonder, like all the fullbacks in the competition at the moment, whether or not you're thinking about the Eels skipper or you're thinking about good old Tuivasa-Sheck or Tedesco. If you had one more game in the competition that you could watch a live game, the Rona's going to hit again. You get a live game at the weekend. It'll be the last time you get to watch a live game for 12 months and you get an opportunity to see a fullback play. Which fullback would it be? And right now, for me, I would have to put my hand up and say, if I get a chance to watch a player on Sunday and it's the last live game, for me, it would be Kalyn Ponga.
Good question. Great question. Can I just not watch the full game, but just watch a replay of Gutherson being turned inside out by Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in a step? Wow. Whack, whack.
Yeah.
No,
Roger was good. Roger was good.
Kalyn's right up there in terms of who I would like to be watching in my last game of footy.
It depends on what the game of footy is. Like, is it a game of footy with all the best players in the? So you pick 26 of the best players in the comp. Because I think Kalyn Ponga and James Tedesco are the two best fullbacks in the comp. You know, Roger's a really close third. I think if you put Kalyn Ponga in the Sydney City side, he's the best fullback in the comp. Yep. You know what I mean?
Which one would you prefer to watch in the last game?
If Kalyn Ponga was playing for Sydney City, I'd watch him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's better than Tedesco.
But see, then you got to think as well. Like we go back to Roger's year, Dally M. Could Tedesco or Ponga have won the Dally M in that Warriors side?
Hell no.
I'm not sure. And these are questions about us.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
But to me, it'd be Tedesco only because to me he's the best player.
He is.
He's probably top 3 in the world at the moment, if not the best. I think he's the best fullback, and I think now we're seeing him the last 3 weeks build into form. And like you said, Kalyn Ponga is a freak, and he'll be here for 10 years doing what he does best. And I think him, Roger, even Pappenhausen's chipping on their heels. But those 3, Roger, Tedesco and Kalyn Ponga are up there. But Tedesco would take the cake for me. I'd have to watch him.
It'd be interesting. Kempi, you bring up a very interesting point in the sense that when we have a 100-metre race...
Trebojevic is up there. Sorry.
Well, when you have a 100-metre race, it's literally mano, 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 womano, womano, womano. Like we know who the fastest is. So you put any of those fullbacks behind, let's just, for argument's sake, the Roosters have the best pack. You put any of those fullbacks behind the Roosters, would you still be picking James Tedesco? Is he the most excited? Is he the one you want to switch on? Because I don't like Tedesco's good, yeah, but I always feel like, he's behind a really good pack. The gaps open up because they're so tired of just being smashed into by the Roosters. My opinion, if you put Ponga or Rog behind that Roosters pack, you'd have a way more successful.
How's this for an innovative rule for the NRL? Is that every club gets to pick one player that plays for them in one game a year.
Go on. So that's cool.
So let's say Sydney City, for instance, can go, well, we want Kalyn Ponga for this game.
Imagine that.
Mate, imagine Kalyn Ponga.
Be exciting.
Imagine Kalyn Ponga. He would go, oh my God, I get to play with that team that just is got guns. Because you're talking about culture and Blake's right about the juniors and that. Their culture isn't at the junior level. Their culture, and you hear it when they're talking about it after the game, is about being in the same team with all these guns.
Yeah.
That's what their culture is. They're like, man, if I don't show up this week, I'm not playing next week in the team full of guns.
Look at all these other people waiting on the bench.
Imagine if you get someone like Kalyn Ponga and they say, mate, we want you in this game against Canberra last week, which I thought was a fantastic football game.
Knock it on purpose. He'd
go, now I'll show you how much.
The cool thing about it too is they still get to wear their original top, the team that they're signed for. So all of a sudden, the Roosters run out.
So we're actually taking it now, we're building it.
And Ponga actually has to wear his Newcastle top still though. I actually like that idea. I think we're advancing. This is the part where we said growth, the whole idea. This is phase 3.
Growth part.
Listen up.
Never happened.
Right. Okay, here we go. So interesting round 18. This one is, we've already called it do or die for the Warriors. That's on Sunday night. That means I can...
Para Penrith.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's get to the most important first, though, which is the Sharks versus the Warriors, because that's going to get us into the 8. This is what I like about it, though. It's at the end of the weekend. So I won't get shitty if something goes wrong on the Friday night. Saturday's clear. Even Sunday's clear. The game is the late one on Sunday evening. So I'm happy. All right, looking through the rest of the games, though. West Tigers versus the Rabbitohs. Do we like? That's on Thursday.
It's another must-win for the Tigers.
It's a good one. It's a good game.
Tigers lose. Rabbitohs wipe them.
Yeah, I think so, too. They used all their magic up. They used all their magic up in the comeback. What do you want? You want Eels, Panthers. Yep, totally.
Good one.
That's
Lavina.
I was reading a good article this morning in the Sydney Morning Herald about how the Panthers have embarked upon this new Zen attitude. They've been doing loads of yoga and a bit of mindfulness and wellness within the player group.
It's the way of the future.
Even though I thought, what a lot of bullshit, that's not going to work, I straight away thought of Jazz Tevaga and thought, and it was interesting what you mentioned, Kempy, if he wouldn't have reacted, and I don't think he deserved to be sent off, and he shouldn't have done that, but they targeted him, they knew he was a hothead, and maybe he just needs to do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of Zen movement to think, I'm not going to give all of this away and give the referees and the opposition an opportunity to have more possession and a penalty against me. Because a lot of teams have been targeting the Penrith Panthers over the last couple of weeks and it hasn't been working because they've won 10. The last time they lost was against the Eels, I think, actually. That was the last time that they lost a game.
Unlucky
just chill out. Don't give the penalties away. Be cool. Be cool, Warriors. Be cool.
Lavina, I've said there's already 2 must-win games. This is a must-win game for Para because the Raiders have got the easiest run home, and if Para have games they can lose with their injuries, so they need to really step up. Otherwise, they'll be
just thrown out 2 must-win games.
3
this week.
We got 3.
There's 3. Who's the other third?
Tigers, Rabbits.
Oh yeah, true.
Warriors, Sharks.
True.
That's a must-win.
Para, Penrith.
What about Roosters, Knights? That's a
Knights are resting.
Nights all day.
Knights are resting
I would
players.
love Kalyn Ponga to play better than Tedesco.
Kalyn Ponga's resting this week.
Kalyn Ponga's playing for the Roosters.
yeah, they've called him in. Yep. Kalyn Ponga's lining up for the Roosters. They've used
Roosters
this game
as
their chip. And then, of course, straight back to it, Warriors Sharks Sunday night. That's going to be it's going to make or break my entire week. I can just feel it. But you know what? I love riding the roller coaster as I love sitting here on a Tuesday morning riding the roller coaster with you guys. So thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Do we all feel like we have purged enough? That we all feel like we can move forward now, relaxed? Like a Jazz Tevaga in a yoga class? We're all good?
Yeah, exactly. Jazz will be doing yoga by the end of the day, I can tell. Cool out.
Love it. Thanks, team. Enjoy the rest of the week.